Hey, so today I wanted to share a passage from Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. This book really talks a lot about how when we're working with wealth consciousness, we're working with the subconscious. And the subconscious holds impressions in what they call the formless substance, right? And in my own research, this is like literally the ethers in the field, the medium through which everything is connected, right? In the Vedas, they call it the Akasha. So when you're working with the formless substance, this chapter is about how to use the will, right? And this is something that's like really interesting that they talk about in this chapter is that it's like recommended not to use the will upon others or to try to manipulate things externally because it's a displacement of power, like trying to just like take your thoughts and then project them out into space. And then there's a recommending of basically like keeping your awareness at home and cultivating the will. And I also say will is like inner fire element to be able to basically that the right use of will is control of your own attention and control upon your own thoughts to create a state of coherence. So let me just read this passage, right? Substance is friendly to you and is more anxious to give you what you want than you are to get it. And this is what it was saying in reference to the idea that you have to fight against a divinity or a deity or something that doesn't want to give you what you want. It's actually that there's a universal law that's at play here that wants to help us. To get rich, you only need to use your willpower upon yourself. When you know what to think and do, then you must use your will to compel yourself to think and do the right things, right? Constantly being mindful of our thoughts and the patterns, our speech, and our action. That is the legitimate use of the will in getting what you want, to use it in holding yourself in the right course, right? And I feel like that's like staying in alignment, being aware of our thoughts and the vibrations that we're holding, emotions, the inner stance that we're having, and whether or not we're staying on course. Use your will to keep yourself thinking and acting in the certain way. So the way that I interpret the certain way is that's like the way of your own alignment. It's being aligned with your life purpose. It's being on the path. Do not try to the fulfillment, right, of your desires and manifestations. Do not try to project your will or your thoughts or your minds out into space to act on things or people. Keep your mind at home. It can accomplish more than elsewhere. So I feel like what that's talking about is that when you bring the awareness in and you drop in and you're focusing more on your own vibration, more on your own state of being, you're dispersing less thoughts than thinking about other people and what they're doing and what's going on in the external. This is something I've noticed a lot in my own journey as I turned within, especially when I left society and I went out into nature and focused more on, like when I lived out of tents for nearly 2 years, I spent a lot of time meditating and placing my energy and my focus back within myself. And what I noticed in that process is that it became an integral thing as I started reintegrating with the world, that it just became like a constant meditation of, and I also feel like that's taking responsibility for our own state of being and realizing that it's not about what other people are doing. When you take that space to cultivate your connection to source and everything unfolding from there. So use your mind to form a mental image of what you want and to hold that vision with faith and purpose. And use your will to keep your mind working in the right way. So forming a mental image, holding it with faith and purpose. They also talk about this in Think and Grow Rich, that the faith is the elixir of life, that when your faith is the consistent, like steady holding of your awareness on the new belief, on the new self, and that's how you embody that new version of yourself. It's being as if you are that version of yourself and assuming the thought patterns, the ways of speech and being, the posture, the embodiment of that, and of feeling that vision already done, already so, giving it over. And this is also Neville Goddard, law of assumption, assuming it as though it already is. And law of attraction teachings as well is that when you're in that state of being, you start to attract that. So the complementary components, right? And this is also what I learned in Akasha Yoga, which is that, when you're in a certain focus point, you're in a certain reality, those kinds of synchronicities come to you. You can notice them, especially through the process of mindfulness and journaling and just witnessing. The more steady and continuous your faith and purpose, the more rapidly you will get rich, because you will only make positive impressions upon the substance, and you will not neutralize or offset them by negative impressions. So I think this is what it's saying, is to keep that focus, because it will continue to reinforce those impressions. Impressions give rise to expression. When you have division of will, that's because one part of you is thinking one way and one part of you is thinking another way. That's where the subconscious clearing and the shadow work comes in. The picture of your ideas, the picture of your desires held with faith and purpose is taken up by the formless and permeates it to great distances throughout the universe for all I know. So I feel that what he's referring to is that we are a receiver, a broadcaster of frequency and vibration inside of the formless substance, the field, right? The Akasha, and the source of all creation. And you are tuned into a certain frequency in that. So then that frequency is also relative to what kind of ideas you're interacting with. And when you're able to hold, so I feel like the faith, again, it's that consistent steadiness of coming into alignment with your purpose, holding that vision, that's the signal that is being sent or received, sent and received in the field. And you're going to attract more synchronicities, more opportunities, more resources that are aligned with that as you set that tuning fork. As this impression spreads, all things are set moving towards its realization. Every living thing, every inanimate thing, and the things yet uncreated are stirred towards bringing into being that which you want. All forces begin to be exerted in that direction. All things to begin to move towards you. The minds of people everywhere are influenced towards doing the things necessary to the fulfilling of your desires, and they work for you unconsciously. Right? I find that last part very interesting, because it's saying that you're coming into alignment with a certain broadcast frequency in the field, and everything comes into coherence around that point of attraction. And I feel that's also the nature of evolution, right? The evolution of all species. It's that it's the sacred geometry, it's coherence, it's the organizing principle, right? When you come into coherence, you're in a unified will, right? Because this chapter, again, how to use the will, right? And it's not talking about the will as something to manipulate things externally. It's talking about the will as a process of personal alignment, of personal development. So I like even focusing on this as bringing my consciousness and then sharing this with you as we're focusing on these fields, right? That's what brings us into coherence with that. So even just reading these passages, Science of Getting Rich, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, right? Laws of Attraction, looking into, subconscious reprogramming, looking into shadow work, right? Inner alchemy, magic, all of these different ways of working with the formless substance, of working with the substance of ourself. So when it says all things are set moving towards its realization, to me, that's what I interpret as your divine design. It's that inherent pattern and purpose, that seed within you, that when you tend that with your awareness, starts to blossom and give you the complementary components and support from the organizing principle of the field and the universe to send you those synchronicities to keep you moving towards your fulfillment. And the manifestations are a part of that, but fulfillment is not just manifesting things. Fulfillment is yoga. It's union with your true self. It's also these states of higher consciousness. It's also love is abundance. Financial prosperity is abundance, but also realizing the interdependence of how we share those, and we're all connected. So like really having a higher purpose and inspiration in life. So all of these things are through the right use of will, right? That we attune ourselves also to those feeling states of joy, of bliss, of flow state, right? And so all of these different self-development practices are ways of us to work with the substance of our consciousness. So thanks for tuning in. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think of these. I was inspired by Elmer Locker Jr., who's doing videos kind of like this on Neville Goddard on YouTube. So his stuff is awesome as well. He just does some, readings. So I decided to take this and put this on like a root chakra coin background image that I made with Mid-Journey. And yeah, so let me know what you think. I can keep making more videos like this. I really like the focus point of this as well. And if you like it, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more magic to come. Aloha.